Hi guys, it's Steve on the Brew. Today we're going to continue our work on the Raspberry Pi powered arcade Mame cabinet. You know, there's a lot of loose ends to tie up, such as power supply construction. The sound speaker has to be worked on, the graphics, and some woodworking all at the same time. There's a lot of loose ends to tie up, but we'll work on it one step at a time and hopefully get this cabinet finished up very soon. So hang out with me and we'll get started. This part here is the side piece, and it's a very important piece because all the other pieces fit into this by the means of these slots. And you can see I've carved them here, and they go all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and start on this piece, and then I'll cut the other panels, and that way everything will fit into this. So I've already made my G-code here, and I'm going to go ahead and send it to the machine over the network, and we'll get cutting this part. I'll put it on fast forward so I don't bore you too much. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and cut the side panel. Okay, here we go. One side panel coming up. Okay, I'll get this piece cleaned up a little bit and start on the next one. Did pretty good. I'll show you how it links. This would be fit just like that. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, this will be the other side of the Mame cabinet. This side over here, and you just seen me do this one, so I'm going to make some G-code for it, and I'll meet you in the other room. Well, as you can see, the more that you use the vacuum cleaner, the more plugged up the filter becomes with this MDF. That's one of the reasons why I'm not real keen on MDF. You can see my keyboard is just full of this stuff. So, you know, the best thing to do would probably be just to use a cyclone system, and I plan to build a cyclone system to use with a regular vacuum cleaner. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you subscribe. Right off the bat, I noticed there's a problem with this panel. I'll clean it up and I'll show you what it is, but there's a problem down here. Get this out of here. It's probably okay to use this part, but like I told you in the very beginning of this CNC track that I was doing, generally you're going to make mistakes, and I see a mistake on here. There's something on here that I left on here and I forgot to take it off. I don't think it's going to hurt anything. Worst comes to worst, I just have to make another part. So let me go ahead and clean this up, and then I'll show you what the problem is. Okay, this is the panel I just cut, and the problem is, you can see this line here, and this one doesn't have it. I originally was going to put a bottom on this, and I took the bottom off, and I forgot to take this this groove off to accept the bottom panel. It really doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt anything. It's going to be on the inside. If I have time and material, I'll go ahead and replace it later on, but for now I'm just going to leave it as is because it will be on the inside. So, okay, it's not a big deal to fix. It just means I'll have to recut it. But I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of the cuts before I bother with this. Okay. Now this little computer power supply right here is a 150 watt ATX power supply, and we're going to modify it for the power for our arcade cabinet. I'm going to be using 5 volts for the Raspberry Pi and then 12 volts for the speaker system, and possibly some of the lighting as well. And what I'd like to do is go ahead and separate those out from these wires, and then also I need a jumper wire to go from the green to the black for the power on condition. So we'll take care of that. I want to open this up first because I would like to put 110 AC mains inside the cabinet too, in case I want to power the marquee with 110 volts. So I just want to see if I have room inside this thing to do so. So I'll bust it open. Now when you're inside these power supplies, you want to be very careful of these caps over here, because that can have a full mains charge on those and it can definitely hurt you. There's not a whole lot of room in here, but what I was thinking, if I could just have enough room, would be to run, you know, a couple 110 AC lines out the side here. So we'll get the soldering iron and do that now. To get 110 volts, I'm going to tap off the power switch here, and that way that will control my internal 110 volt AC plugs inside the main cabinet when the switch is thrown, and that way I can always leave the lights on without having the computer running. Normally, if you were to do a power supply conversion, you would clip all these ends off and then put some binding post on the outside of the case. However, I'm only going to be tapping a 12 and a 5 volt source, so I think I'm just going to wrap these cords up except for the 2 that I need, and go ahead and cut the end off one and then wire it, and that way I don't have to worry about binding post and all that stuff. I just want to check that this switch is now working. And I have 110 volts. Okay, with my meter set to AC, just to test it out here. Okay. So the switch must be on because there's 122 volts going through there. Let's hit the switch here, and then that cuts it. To turn the power on and off, I will be putting a toggle switch on the back of the Mame cabinet, and that will be controlled through this green wire and the black ground. So if I jump those together, green I believe is 14. Yeah, green is on pin 14, and then ground any of the black ones. And let's see if the fan starts up here. So here we go. Yep, the fan has started, and I have 120 volts on the output. So this power supply is ready to go. Just have to button it up now. Okay, so I put the case all back together. I'm going to check it one more time. I've got a 110 volt line coming out of here, which is hooked here, which goes to my meter. And when I turn this on, I get 120 volts. And then when I touch these 2 wires together, I should get a fan. You can't really see it, but it is on. So that'll go to the main switch, which turns on the game by turning on the Raspberry Pi. So this conversion for the little power supply is now done. On to something else. Well, the next thing I'd like to do is go ahead and nest 3 parts together. What nesting is putting more than one part on a single piece of material so that you can cut them at the same time. In this case, I'm going to take this front panel where the coin slots are, and then I'm going to take this underside piece, this filler piece here, and the top. So this one, and this one, I'm going to put all together, and I've got them here on the layout. You can see. Let me run this for you. So Mastercam allows me to bring in the parts and put them on a single sheet, and it can be mindful of grain and many different configurations, but you know, MDF doesn't have grain, so I don't have to worry about that. But I'm going to go ahead and get this screen, the coin slot, and this top piece all on one sheet. So that's next, so stand by for that. Okay, I'm ready to cut those 3 nested parts, and I spent some time and cleaned out my vacuum system for this here, so I should get a lot less dust, so that's pretty critical to keep your filters clean. Okay, so here we go. See, now I can still save this, cut that off, and use it for something else, so you don't get that much waste. Now, something I did want to point out to you, parts like this, like the window, makes perfect sense to use a CNC, so you have a perfect size window like that, as well as a part like this for the coin changer, plus the opening on the bottom here. But for straight parts such as this is a little piece that is a filler that will go above like that, and then this part, which is I believe the top. No, I'm sorry, this is just a scrap piece. But if this were a piece, and this piece, would probably be easier just to do it on traditional tools such as a table saw. So I'm just pointing out that not all types of cuts are ideal, and straight cuts are probably better left to a traditional type cutter. Okay, do something next. Well, next up is the sound system for the Mame cabinet, and I have these Cambridge Soundworks speakers here. They look pretty hefty, and I think they're going to make a really good sound. So I'm going to crack one open and see what I can do about getting rid of the cases on these and just using the electronics. I could always put them as is inside the Mame cabinet, but they're kind of big, and yeah, I think I'd rather just shed the case if possible. The screw is way down in there. It's in there, I just gotta reach for it. There we go. So I had to pretty much break this thing to get it to open up, but just for future information, there is a screw here in the front under this grill on these Cambridge Soundworks speakers, and if you pop the grill off, you can get to that screw there. So there's actually 4 screws. There's 3 in the back and then 1 here in the front, and then this whole thing opens up. Inside there's a fairly decent sized magnet on this speaker, and I think that's what gives it its good sound. And here's the amplifier board here. I had to cut the wires to get it to route out because they put all this hot glue on there, and I couldn't get past the hot glue without cutting the wires. So there's the amplifier there, and here's the speaker. I'm going to go ahead and take the other one out now. That should just be a speaker. This one. Let's see if that goes any better, now that I know how to do it. The hardest part is getting on these screws because they're so deep in there. Play around. There it is. You can tell when the screwdriver is fitting inside the screw. You just got to play with it till it seats itself. And here's one under here. And then the hidden one is under here. Now I'm not going to use these again, so I don't care if I bend this part out. Just pop it out. hopefully these speakers will deliver enough bass. I think that part of a good gameplay is to have a lot of bass, and that's why I chose these speakers, because they're of bigger magnets, and I think that they'll serve work a little better. You can see that hot glue is on this one as well, so I'm going to have to go ahead and cut that off there too, just to get it out of the case. And then cut it here. So that's it. Let's remove this speaker here, these four. I don't know how much these enclosures help with the bass. I noticed that these ports for the bass ports go all the way to the back, and I'm sure they do help some. Just have to experiment with the arcade cabinet and see if it sounds good. There. So that's the parts I'm after. There's the two speakers and the soundboard, and then the various wires. I'm going to have to hook it back up. Okay, very good. On to something else again. Okay, well, next up is the back of the cabinet. The only pieces I really have left besides the plexiglass are the back and the top here. I wanted to show you the back here. I've made allowances for the power supply here. That should fit a power supply in nicely. And then this is a main power switch hole here. And I made a door in the back here, and look what I've got on my back door. Let me open it up here. Yep. Mounted right to that door. I plan on having the joystick controller that I built earlier here, and then of course the Raspberry Pi here, and these cables will lead inside and be long enough to allow this to close. And I plan on putting this on a hinging system and maybe a little handle, but I was trying to think of how to save I was trying to think of a way to mount these two items. And I was thinking about mounting them to the side and that sort of thing. But then I thought, boy, wouldn't it be nice if I just could open a door from the back like this, and then have access right there to my SD card, so I could switch it out, or I could, you know, work on the buttons or whatever. So this is what I come up with, and I just came into my master cam here. This is going to be my part here. I'm just going to simulate the cut on that. So there it is. Hopefully the part will look just like this. So next up, what we do is we write the G code. Now what I do is I pull the G code right through the network, and that's how I handle it, so I don't have to use any cards or anything like that. So I'm just going to call this one back and save it on through the network to the CNC machine. And there's my G code. Okay, I'll meet you in the other room. We're going to start cutting this baby. The reason why I haven't been using my touch plate setup is because it actually broke on me, and I haven't had the time to go through the code and find out what's wrong with it. Just one day it quit working, so I've been doing it manually, like with the paper test. And that's the reason why I haven't been using it. Okay, we're just about ready here. One arcade cabinet back coming up. going to save this. I might be able to use that for the door, but then again, you know, it's going to be too small by the thickness of a bit, which is 1/4 inch all the way around. So I may just cut this over again in some scrap. I've got other pieces, but you never know. Maybe it'll work. I'll save it for now. And there it is. The hole for the power supply, the switch, and the access door. I'll put, you know, a piece of wood in here and hinge it so it can open like that. Okay. Well, I just had to show it off so far. I think it's looking really good. I just got the back finished, and I just pushed all this together. There's no glue, no fasteners. It's just sitting on this table. I'm sure if you touched it, it would probably explode. But you can see how it's all fit together. So I think it's looking pretty good. There's that back on there. So now I just have to cut a top for it, a door for that, and figure out what I'm going to do about the marquee here, and a plexiglass top and front for this, and then that should be all the pieces. Looking pretty good. Okay, that's it. Okay guys, well that's it for now. We put in a pretty hard day's work here, and we got a lot accomplished, but there's still quite a few things that need to be done on this arcade cabinet. Hey, but they'll come along soon enough. Something I didn't show you that I had been working on also is the graphics for the arcade cabinet. I've got a rough draft here. I'll show it to you. This is just a printout of something that we think we want it to look like for the control panel. It'll sit here on this board, and then it will be covered up with plexiglass, and you can see where all the buttons and everything will come through there. And then we have to make another one for the top of it, for the marquee that will get lit up as well. So that's just one more step, something that needs to be done. Hey, let us know your thoughts on this video and others. If you have any ideas for future videos, certainly let us know. We like to hear your comments and suggestions. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care of yourself, and bye for now. Hey guys, this is Steve. Thanks for watching. Hey, don't forget to subscribe if you like this video, and be sure to rate and comment. See ya.